It might not feel good, but I'm going to remind you that straying from your integrity, straying from your essence, living life not as who you truly are, also doesn't feel good. Wondering if people approve of you and making choices based on that doesn't feel good. Avoiding confrontation so you sit with the problem longer doesn't feel good. So it's not a matter of, oh, I don't want to do this because it doesn't feel good. It already doesn't feel good. You just have to pick what doesn't feel good, right? And what method. How's it resonating in your life? What is the number one self-limiting belief that is keeping you fearing confrontation, keeping you seeking others' approval, keeping you overthinking all of your actions and out of integrity with yourself? When I realized that I had this self-limiting belief, my entire life changed. It is something that I personally had struggled with for years until I became consciously aware that this is something that I was thinking. So if you're new to this podcast, I'm Life Coach Meg Ellis. I am a conscious life coach. So bringing awareness into your life of what you think, what you believe, all these self-limiting beliefs, so then you can begin to change your life and live your best life ever. So if you're new to mindset and consciousness and beliefs and thoughts, and you're kind of on this beginning of this personal development journey, you might be wondering, what is a self-limiting belief? And those are those beliefs that hold you back, literally limit you from everything that you want to do. There are these little tiny thoughts like, oh, you're not good enough, or, oh, there's probably someone better, or, oh, you need this person to approve of you. These little tiny negative thoughts that keep you back. And essentially what happens is it's your ego popping in and trying to protect you. And so a lot of times when people hear the word ego, they hear they automatically think, oh yeah, this person's really cocky, or they're overly confident, or they have this big ego and they kind of suck the energy out of the room, like boastful energy. And that is a common way that we describe the ego in a lot of scenarios. But when it comes to consciousness and the mindset, your ego is actually a part of you. It's like a part of your thought process that keeps you safe. So what happens is, take a classic caveman example, right? Your ego kicks in when you look back behind you and you see a lion chasing you or something. And your ego says, "Oh my gosh, you're gonna be eaten by this lion. You gotta go, right? This lion is stronger than you. You gotta run." So it's that kind of part of you that kicks in to keep you safe. Now, as we've evolved over time, typically speaking, we don't have lions chasing us on a daily basis, but that ego still thinks it has a purpose. So now it's evolved over time the same way that we have. And now it says, okay, I'm still going to keep you safe, right? And most of the time though, safe means small. I'm going to hold you back. So now it's not necessarily anything about, lions chasing you, but it's about don't make this big move that's scary, right? Don't post this thing on social media because someone will probably make fun of you, or don't apply to this job because you probably won't get it, or don't download this dating app because the people on there are probably just trash, and you're just going to be wasting your time, and no one's going to be liking you anyway, right? That is your ego, and your ego kicks in and it keeps you in this mindset where you're thinking these self-limiting beliefs. And there's literally a million of them, right? And today I'm going to focus on the number one self-limiting belief that I have personally experienced and that I coach. I life coach people in person all the time. And this belief had kept coming up in my client sessions. So I figured, hey, let's do a podcast episode on it because it seems to relate to everybody. And I thought I could help you too. So, if you've struggled with approval or seeking approval, or just wanting to be acknowledged by others or recognized, or maybe you kind of stray from who you really are just to do what you think you should do, or maybe you avoid confrontation or awkward scenarios because you just, you don't want to ruffle anyone's feathers. All of these things that keep you out of alignment with yourself. So you have your ego that keeps you safe. But you have this other thing called your essence. And the essence is kind of underneath of your ego and it's just trying to claw and climb out no, this is who I really am. if I weren't afraid of rejection, or if I weren't afraid of, what people are going to think of me, if I wasn't afraid of this person not approving of me, right? So these self-limiting beliefs keep you from your essence and out of an integrity with your essence of who you truly, truly are. And this number one self-limiting belief that was a game changer for me personally, and I've seen it be a game changer for a lot of my clients, is this. And again, remember, this is the lie. This is the lie that your ego is telling you that keeps your essence, who you truly are, stuffed down. I'm only okay if you're okay. I'm only going to be okay if they're okay. And just take a second. You can pause this episode if you have to, and just think about maybe where is that popping up in your life? I'm only going to be okay if they're okay. And I know for me personally, I struggled with this a lot. And the thing about personal development is we spend a lot of our time kind of cleaning up all the little leaves of the weed, right? Like we can easily identify certain things like, oh yeah, like I'm just, I'm not good at this, or I just don't like confrontation, or I don't really care what people think of me, but I secretly do, right? We are like, oh, I'm just going to cut these people off because they're just not for me. And we can do like these like little mini developments, but we're actually not getting to the root. A lot of times it's rooted in something that's pretty deep and can feel like a big wound. And when I heard this self-limiting belief, it hit me in the face, right? And I automatically knew where it was showing up in my life. I actually was talking about it with a friend when I first heard it, and we had kind of been sharing our stories from just how we grew up in certain situations, and it turned into, us both sharing experiences just from our childhood of essentially managing other people's emotions, right? And I know a lot of times that can pop up in childhood, right? We always say, it's our parents' fault, or, I was shaped this way. And sometimes, and a lot of times that is true. And a lot of times it revolves around, safety as a child, not feeling loved as a child. These wounds are there and they resonate as this big weed. And unless you truly get down to the root of it, you're just going to be clipping those leaves forever and ever and ever, because they're just going to keep growing back. So if this is heavy for you, I will just encourage you to sit with it, right? Sit in the uncomfort, because that is the only way things are going to change. And when I heard that, it was my friend who brought this up. She's a really conscious friend, and I'm lucky to have those friends who we can have these conversations with. But you're only okay if, of course, you felt this way because you felt like you were only going to be okay if this person was going to be okay. And yeah, right? You take yourself out of yourself, right? Your ego starts to protect you, right? That big lie, that big self-limiting belief. If you're okay, then I'm going to be okay, right? And a lot of times that shows up as straying from who you are, out of integrity with your essence, right? And what happened with me is that in adulthood, I kept this self-limiting belief of, oh my God, I'm only going to be okay if you're okay. And so where it resonated for me was this deep fear of confrontation. I absolutely hated it. So I trimmed my little leaves off by saying like, oh no, it's not that big of a deal, or I have thick skin, I'm not going to let this bother me, or I'm kind of above that, let me take the high road, right? These are all excuses that look like these little leaves of this weed, but in reality it was, oh my gosh, if they're not okay, if I come to them with this confrontation and they're not okay, I'm not going to be okay. So why would I put myself in that unsafe situation? My ego kicks in trying to keep you safe, right? Like, no, just, shake it off, right? You don't want to do this. It's fine. It's fine. So how many times do you say it's fine is probably a sign that it's not. Where it resonated in my life otherwise was just constantly seeking people's approval, right? And it can show up if you have a couple, different groups of friends or different settings. with this group of friends, I would be this way, right? With this group of people, I would be this way. And with this professional group, I'd be this way. And obviously there's that, professional, personal boundary, and you act a little bit differently, at home and at work. But if you are wildly different and your personality changes based on who you are around, who are you really, right? And I'm going to encourage you to ask yourself, why am I doing this, right? Why don't I ever voice, no, I don't like this, right? Because I think, what do I actually think the other person's going to react with, right? So when you start to realize, oh my gosh, I do think I might only think I'm okay if other people are okay. It's like, okay, what do I do with that now? Because here's the thing is, you cannot please everybody. And if you're a people pleaser, please listen up, subscribe to this channel. It will help you. You cannot please everybody. You simply cannot, because everybody is different and everybody wants different things. So in order to try and cater to all these different people, one, it's exhausting. Two, it's impossible. And you lose sight of who you really are. So your essence, who you really are in there, who you really want to be, it's very dim and you don't feel like yourself. So if you're walking around not feeling like yourself, you're probably not acting like yourself. So how do you do this? Well, first of all, you realize, okay, I think I'm thinking this, right? I'm avoiding all these things because I'm afraid of other people's reactions, because if they're not okay, then I'm not going to be okay. So you have to realize you have to fight back and think the opposite. What is the opposite of this self-limiting belief that's probably more in the realm of truth, right? The truth is, I'm going to be okay even if they're not okay, right? And even in a professional setting, I know, like, even having difficult conversations with employees or even firing somebody, it's like, oh man, we don't want to do it and we avoid it, and we end up communicating completely wrong because we beat around the bush and try and save other people's feelings, right? We can even do it, from that standpoint of, I'm trying to protect you, right? Because I know at the end of the day, though, the root of the weed is, if you're not okay, then I'm not okay, and I don't want to not be okay. So let me just avoid this, right? That sounds better. So what you have to do is realize, I'm going to be okay if you're not okay. It might not feel good, but I'm going to remind you that straying from your integrity, straying from your essence, living life not as who you truly are, also doesn't feel good. Wondering if people approve of you and making choices based on that doesn't feel good. Avoiding confrontation so you sit with the problem longer doesn't feel good. So it's not a matter of, oh, I don't want to do this because it doesn't feel good. It already doesn't feel good. You just have to pick what doesn't feel good, right? And what method. How's it resonating in your life? So I'm going to be okay, even if you're not going to be okay, right? I'm going to show up truly as myself. Obviously, we're going to be respectful and conscious of other people's feelings and emotions and reactions. However, we are not going to take responsibility for them. And if you take away one thing from this podcast, it is this: other people's emotional reactions are not your responsibility. Write that down, put it on a Post-it note, put it on your mirror in your bathroom, and say it every day out loud. Other people's emotional reactions are not my responsibility. They're on their own journey. You're on yours. And you have to detach yourself from other people's emotional reactions. And when you realize, hey, I'm going to be okay, even if they have a negative reaction that I don't want, one, it's not my responsibility. Two, I'm still going to be okay. So just sit with this. This is a topic that I will be revisiting in the future. So once again, subscribe if you want more content like this. I produce it every single week. But you just have to begin to fight back, okay? So fight back against these self-limiting beliefs that, they've been wired into you. You've been thinking them for a very, very, very long time. And until you actually stop and halt them and fight back, nothing's going to change. So you're going to keep walking around seeking everybody's approval. You're going to keep walking around fearing confrontation. You're going to keep walking around overthinking every single one of your actions and feeling regretful with anxiety or guilty. You're going to keep straying from who you are, and you're going to walk around and be like, I don't even know myself, because myself changes based on how other people are going to emotionally react to me and what I think is going to come from that. And that doesn't feel good, right? So you just have to begin to fight back. So just know you are going to be okay, even if they are not going to be okay. And two, other people's emotional reactions are not your responsibility. So that's all I have for you today. I know you know somebody who is a people pleaser and probably could benefit from this episode. So send it to them. And of course, if I could leave you with just one last thing, it would be this: expect good things always, and they will happen.